something crosses the road. It's skeletal-like, fleshy, and it stands up, and then it like kind of just almost like leaps.
They look back and they see one. Clear as day. It walked 5 feet away from my audio recorder. We just saw a Bigfoot. Holy crap.
I've been pinched, I've been tapped on the shoulder, I've had my name hollered, a hand came up underneath my left arm. I said, little son of a bitch tried to get me. That was the time that I decided you don't sleep inside that building.
Did you see that?
The cowker, it's big, it's white, and it runs faster than any man could ever run. And it would lean out behind the tree. And that's why we never go out, because the booger will get you.
Welcome to another episode of the Smurly Ending. I'm Luke.
I'm Dustin.
Today we're going to talk about the lore and the legend of the Grim Reaper.
Of the Grim Reaper. What did you... Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what we were doing recently with these lives. So...
Okay, go for it.
Lately, Luke and I has been going out after work and going live on YouTube, going live on Facebook, and doing some paranormal investigating. We had some activity that we wasn't really expecting the first night that we went out to do the live, which the activity that we had, I would say, would fall under Bigfoot activity.
Yes, I would agree with you on that one.
And the second time we went out, we had some more interesting things happen. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd like to say, I mean, I don't want to say yes, it is what we think it is, but it lines up to what we think it is. And we think it's a possible Bigfoot, but we're not 100% sure. So we don't want to say, well, yeah, it's Bigfoot, then it's not.
Right. I don't want to...
We don't want to assume anything.
Right. But I don't want to get too much into it because I feel like we could probably make a whole episode just on that topic specifically.
I agree.
So... But one more thing before we do get into the Grim Reaper stuff, just to let everybody know that we are going live regularly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so make sure that you look out for that.
Yes. Yes, we will.
So
around 11:30.
Yo, yeah. Make sure we
every Tuesday and Thursday.
11:30 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. So, are you ready to get into the Grim Reaper?
Back to the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Would you like to tell the origin of the Grim Reaper, or would you like to...
Alright, the origin of the Grim Reaper. Back in the ancient days, the Grim Reaper is the symbol of death. Now, in Greek mythology, there is Thanatos, which is a personification of death as well in Rome in the mythology. He is also known as Morse in the Roman mythology. The art form of the time, death, often described death as a skeletal figure, and that's where the Grim Reaper came from. The Reaper was usually shown rolling a scythe, symbolize the harvesting of souls.
Yeah.
Much like a farmer harvesting his crops.
Right. So, the Grim Reaper the origin is it seems to be all over the place throughout different religions and different times in history, that it has become a symbol of death, or it was a symbol of death earlier on. And you say ancient times, are you talking around like the 14th century, whenever the Black Death was going on in Europe?
Yeah, medieval Europe, Greek mythology, like back in Greek.
Yeah, medieval Europe and whatnot. Then it goes even further back within Greek mythology to Thanatos or Thanatos. I don't know how to pronounce it. Thanatos, yeah. I also seen that there is another Greek, I guess it's a god of some sort, maybe, I don't know, but it's also kind of in the realm of death. It's, I'm gonna butcher the name, Charon, maybe. And they were a ferryman of the underworld. Also influenced Death's role as a guide, is what I was finding.
Now, the characteristics of the Grim Reaper is pretty known throughout the whole, like, by everybody, and it's the same characteristics. Is a skeletal-like creature with a cloaked in a black robe with a hood.
Yeah.
And the scythe.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting, though, because I see in Celtic and Norse mythology, they have figures like the Banshee. Now, are you familiar with the Banshee?
I think so.
Yeah, and Celtic.
If you want to go over it for the people in the audience who don't know what the Banshee is.
Well, see, I'm not sure that I really know what the Banshee is. I understand the Banshee to be, I don't know if it's an entity, a spirit, a creature, what it is, but I just know that it screams, doesn't it? It's like I hear people say that, though. You know, I'll quit screaming like a banshee. You know what? Let me look it up. Now I'm curious. What is a banshee? Hold on. Let me go to Google. We got to fact check some things here real quick.
Now, while he's doing that, I'll talk a little bit more about the Grim Reaper. The role of the Grim Reaper, in many traditions, the Grim Reaper is seen as a guide who helps souls from the physical world to the afterlife. This figure does not actively cause death, but rather than escort souls once their time has come. So it doesn't kill people. It just helps transfer your soul to the physical world, to the afterlife, which is interesting because I never really knew that. I thought, like, oh, if you see the Grim Reaper,
you're gonna die.
Like, you're dead.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm finding is kind of interesting because the Banshee doesn't look like the Grim Reaper. So we found that across most religions or most lore, or whatever you want to call it, a lot of the depictions of the Grim Reaper is the skeletal figure. But in Irish and Celtic folklore, the Banshee, which is it foretells of death, which is kind of what you were just saying. You believe, or always had heard, that you see the Grim Reaper, you're going to die. Well, the Banshee foretells of death as well. But the Banshee is described as looking like a young woman, a beautiful young woman with long flowing hair, or as an old haggard crone. Some accounts describe them as wearing a gray cloak over a green dress or a white gown.
That's interesting.
And Banshee comes from the Irish word, see, I don't know, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly too, I'm sure, beansea or beanseed or side, which translates to woman of the fairy mound or fairy woman.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, there's another, there's a whole bunch of different variants of like someone like the Grim Reaper in Greece and Roman mythology and Europe. So in Greek, we talked about Thanatos. Now in Egyptian mythology, it's Anubis.
That's the
It's
dog.
this, yes. Anubis is a jackal-headed figure who guides souls to the underworld and oversees the way of the heart ceremony to determine the fate of the deceased.
That's interesting.
Now, then, this also Hell. It's Hel. It's the Norse mythology. Hell is the ruler of the realm of the same name where those who did not die in battle. After death, unlike the Grim Reaper, hell is more associated with the underworld and less than the act of death itself. So there's different, like, I don't know how to word it exactly, but there's different beliefs in the whole death situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you believe in omens of death? Like seeing the Grim Reaper figure or hearing the Banshee or something?
It's hard to say if I do or not. I mean, I would never witness anything like that before, so I can't say yes, I do. I think if once I see something, then probably I would believe it more.
Do you think people can sense when death is near?
Yeah, I think people can. Like people on a deathbed, I think they can sense, yeah, it's going to be that time.
Yeah. I think as you approach or as death approaches, I think that you do gain a sense of it's my time.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually an interesting topic because this is something that Mom and I have talked about before because I don't know. I know that I've told you before that I believe that everything, like there's a lot of power in belief and intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you in your mind have decided that you're done here on Earth, like fully
Mm-hmm.
am satisfied, do you think that it is possible to just leave? Like just like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like without obviously doing anything crazy to harmful, right? But do you think that you could just go to sleep and just not wake up based off of a decision?
I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that one either.
Now, earlier you mentioned the Black Death, the Black Plague.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Grim Reaper's modern image was significantly shaped by the Black Death in 1948 through the 1350s.
Yeah.
So that's where it came through as the Grim Reaper, what it looked like.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't really find anything that had that in it.
I think
Why it?
I think that it was portrayed as the bringer of death or whatever, you know what I mean, the one who guides you to the other side, because during the time of the Black Death, there was a lot of mortality, there was a lot of death. Obviously the Black Death is named after what happened. well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're not going to get into what happened, but I think that it was just it was the decay, like that's what they were seeing.
The body's decaying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very possible. Now, this image also went through for the Renaissance period in the 18th and 19th centuries.
Really?
People would say they would see this figure before someone died.
Well, was that? Wait, you said the 18th or 19th century?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then that
18th and 19th century.
Okay, so then that was after the Black Death, so the figure had already been put into effect. But people were claiming to have seen it. Mike is calling me.
Yeah. It continued to evolve as well as this figure with the scythe.
It evolved from the figure with the scythe to something else, or?
No, it's just like more like, I guess this is the artist, so I'm guessing the artist like evolved the picture and made it better and more clear on what they are seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, the Grim Reaper's origin seems like it's just a blend of cultural influences and the horrors of the Black Death and religious beliefs about death and ancient mythologies.
Yeah.
Like, the figure as we know it today, like clad in black and holding a scythe, guiding souls to the afterlife. I became fully realized in medieval Europe, and I think it's ever since then it's just remained a powerful symbol of death.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you on that one. Now, this says in Gothic fiction, the Grim Reaper and similar figures become common, often used to evoke a sense of dread and the unknown. The description of death became more dramatic in a symbol aligning with the eras with the dark aspect of humans' experiences, the 20th century and beyond pop culture.
Yeah, there's been a lot of influences in pop culture from that representation of death. The horror movies, I don't want to go listing a bunch of things because the depiction
There's
of
even
death is in a lot of
TV
things.
shows.
Oh yeah.
What's that one? Grimming something. It's a cartoon.
You're probably talking about the one that I used to watch it all the time. It's called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yes, that's it. That is it.
Now, do you think that people are having these experiences with the Grim Reaper because it's been so engraved into our psyche?
Yeah, they're like manifesting it.
Yeah. That's what their representation of death looks like. So whenever they get to the end of life and death is approaching, that's how they see it, because that's what is represented as death to them.
It's very possible. It's hard to say because we're never going to know till it's that time.
Right. I mean, the only thing that I could think of that would back up that theory, and I mean, I guess there really isn't no hard scientific proof of it, but remember whenever we were talking to Amy and she was telling us about how spirit communicates with us and uses our own experiences and understandings? That's the only thing that would make me go, okay, yeah, maybe because the Grim Reaper or the skeletal figure has been engraved into our belief from the beginning for so long that now that's just the representation of it. So that's what we see whenever we die.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that's probably what the scenario is, if that is the case. If not, then that's creepy to see. But we also found that story, which we'll be sharing here shortly, that the girl who saw the Grim Reaper touched it, the Grim Reaper touched the lady's foot.
Yeah.
And she didn't die.
No.
No, I'm asking what you think of that. Like,
oh, what do I think
if
of?
you see it, but you don't die, then...
Well, that's the thing. Do you believe that it exists outside of myth?
I think it could be manifested through
belief.
A thing.
Yeah, I mean, these are all questions and things that I've taken into consideration and pondered. Is like the Wendigo.
Mm-hmm.
If on a large level people have some sort of belief where they think that, yeah, that's an entity that exists, could it manifest itself in a spiritual sense? I don't know if things can really manifest themselves in, like, if it's on a spiritual level like that, I don't know that it can manifest itself in a physical way. I believe that it could manifest itself in a spiritual sense or an energetical, and I don't think that's a word, and an energy type way, an energetic type way. My mouth was moving too fast for my brain, and my brain didn't get to correct myself before it left my face. Anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Oh,
you believe it can manifest it in energy?
Yeah, I believe that it could manifest in some sort of way. If I don't know, it's such an unknown topic. I mean, I know that's what we're here to do, is explore the unknown, but I feel like that's such an unknown topic that I can't form any kind of opinion or belief off of it, because I am that skeptical believer. I have to have something in order for me to go, okay, yeah, that's possible. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible, because I do have experiences that have gotten me to the point where I could say, yeah, that there's a possibility that manifestation can happen, but I don't know that we can manifest entities.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, in the story that we're going to have here, it seems as though this person had an encounter with some kind of entity that looked like the Grim Reaper and had felt a physical touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to put this in? Do you want to do that part now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and listen to the story.
I was about 19 or 20 at the time, going through a phase where I'd been sleeping on the couch every night. On this particular night, I was having trouble falling asleep, though I wasn't sleep deprived or anything. I just couldn't seem to drift off, so I lay there, eyes closed but still wide awake. That's when I felt something touch my foot. I opened my eyes, and there it was, a cloaked skeletal figure. Its hood was up, shadowing its face, and in its bony hand it held a scythe. I was frozen, staring at it, utterly terrified. The figure just stood there, looming over me for what felt like an eternity. Just as suddenly as it appeared, it dissolved into thin air. I didn't stick around after that. I bolted out of the room and didn't return until daylight. Now, at the time, I was a complete skeptic. I never even considered the idea of the Grim Reaper being real, or any kind of Reaper entity for that matter. But to this day, I'm not sure what I saw. I've never had a hallucination like that before or since, and I wasn't asleep, not even close. I've had sleep paralysis before, and this was nothing like that. I hadn't even drifted off to sleep, and I could move just fine. Since then, I've had a few paranormal experiences, but this one still haunts me. It's the one I can't explain. And no, I didn't die. No one in my life passed away until much later, but the encounter still left me shaken.
It's a very interesting encounter.
Yeah. And
Nothing else. I mean, go ahead.
They swear that they wasn't asleep. And I'm not trying to discredit anything, but have you ever dozed off and not realized it?
Yeah, but mostly after the fact, it's like, oh shit, like I dozed off.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me think of like I've fallen asleep and had the feeling of falling when I wasn't. So
I've had that happen before.
I mean, do you think this person encountered some sort of entity or spirit, or do you think that maybe the person just, I don't know, maybe fell asleep and didn't realize it and was in a lucid state where the dream felt real, but they were still awake?
It's hard to say. I want to believe the story is true. Because if it is, it's a very impressive encounter with the Grim Reaper. And I mean, we were reading other stories too that people came in contact with the Grim Reaper, but this one just stood out the most.
But yeah, that's a crazy story. And like Luke said, there's other stories that we came across on Reddit that were interesting as well, but this one was the most compelling one that was Grim Reaper related. Yeah, so before we close this out, we just want to let everyone know that we would very much appreciate it if you went over to the YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go and subscribe, because Luke and I, we really put a lot of hard work into this, and it would just mean the world to us if you went and did that. That'd be great. Like, share, hit that little bell icon for notifications. Luke and I, we go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if you guys want to leave a donation, we have a donation page on our website that would help us greatly in taking care of the costs of running the podcast. ExploringTheUnknownPod.com is where you'll find that. And also, there's some affiliate links down in the description for Ghost Stop. If you're looking for some ghost equipment and are ready to get out there and do your own investigating, Ghost Stop's where you'll find all the best equipment that'll help you with your investigations. And your purchase through that link will help us in keeping this podcast going. So, yeah.
Now, instead of doing a would you rather question, let's do a different scenario.
Okay.
What would you do if you came face to face with the Grim Reaper?
What would I do if I came face to face with the Grim Reaper? Well, I would probably try to communicate. I would probably ask if it was my time. Oh, somebody's coming back to see me. It's not the Grim Reaper, though. Yeah, I would probably ask if it's my time, and yeah, I don't know. Is it like a menacing encounter, or is it just like?
No, it's just like you see it, because you always just see it like walking through like a cemetery or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I would
Big ghost
probably.
hunting.
I would
see it walking through a cemetery.
Oh, I see it walking through the cemetery. well, then I don't feel so threatened. Maybe. What would you do?
It would be a freaky encounter. I would be freaked out because it's like, oh shit, that's a good Reaper. And I would be worried if I seen this thing like we were talking about earlier. Is that going to be an omen of some sort?
Oh yeah, with that kind
Like, is someone I know that's gonna pass away? I'm gonna pass away, so I'd be questioning, like, no, I wouldn't really say questioning, but I'd be like, what's this going on?
Yeah, I feel like I would be on edge for sure. I mean, even now, it's almost like I feel like the Grim Reaper is over watching me or just 2 steps behind me, and I'll explain why in a second, but it also kind of reminds me of whenever Freighter was doing that death experience thing. I didn't really get to participate in it too much because busy, but I do have these feelings that, and it's more along the lines of the realization that I'm unhealthy in certain aspects of life, and at any moment God can take me, and that kind of freaks me out, because it's like and we take it for granted. You probably wake up every day not even thinking about the fact that there's a chance that you could have went to bed last night and never got back up.
Yeah,
and that kind of is hanging over me more recently, so it's like making me want to change. It makes me want to live life differently. But the problem is, at this point, is I don't know how. I don't know where to begin. With all these things, I've fallen off the horse so many times, it's hard to get back on.
Yeah, I got that.
For example, with the podcast, like before you and I met, I was doing YouTube. I when we were keeping the kids home, it was during COVID, and I was doing YouTube. I was posting videos. I was doing videos. I was like on a schedule. I was recording. I was doing this stuff all by myself, and I got burnt out to a point where, well, I ended up going back to work first off, and I got burnt out, and I just stopped doing it. And during that time, I was like the most mentally healthy I've been in a long time. I was exercising. I was trying to just live life better. And then whenever I started going back to work, I fell off of that, and all the things that come along with going to work and living the normal cookie cutter life made me just tired, unmotivated, uninspired. So getting back on the horse to try to get back on that path is hard after you've gotten off of it so many times. So with the podcast, it's made it nice because we're doing it together, and it's putting me back into that mental state slowly. But I'm doing it, and it's, I don't want to say that I'm doing, well, I am doing it, I guess. But yeah, but since you've been involved with the podcast, I've felt, I don't want to say obligated, but I felt pressured, or like I'm being held accountable for things. So it's given me the motivation to make it work. You know what I mean? But that's what I needed to get back on the path, is to be held accountable. And I think everything happens for a reason.
I believe so.
I was just telling Micah this the other day, because he is going through a tough time in life right now. And I told him that I don't think that we get put into these situations because we're meant to get hurt or anything like that. But I think that we get put into these situations because there's something within that situation that we're meant to learn or experience, for that matter. Like, I worked at Chipotle whenever I met Micah. So I think that my purpose at Chipotle wasn't to be at Chipotle or to learn how to be a manager or anything like that. My purpose at Chipotle was to cross paths with Micah, because Micah is doing the music too. And yeah, I think that there's just lessons in everything, and because God's not going to put you into a situation where you don't have the skills to take it on. He's going to put you into a situation where you're going to walk away with something that's going to better you for the next event.
Yeah, I agree. All right, do you want to sign this out?
I'm ready, I guess. I don't know. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Till next time.
Keep exploring the unknown.